Right, I think the next section we're going to move on to is what everyone was wanting to come for and have a look at. So this is the beef of the presentation. So we're going to have a look at the HTML5 and Android side of things. So I think Anton is just going to kick off with a quick intro here.
Right, so let's just go through these points quickly. I think the main driver behind our development of the HTML5 screens is that Windows is end of life. As I think most of you already know, Microsoft made a decision some years back to kind of decide that they're not going to continue the development. They'll support the Windows platform, in other words, Windows Mobile 6.1 and 6.5 and so on. They will continue to support it, but they won't aggressively develop new technologies for it and new tools for it. So it's becoming end of life. Over time, what's obviously kind of happened is there was a question in the mobile device market as to kind of where to go from here. In the early days, it was a bit grey as to where the ultimate direction would be, but it's become very, very clear in the last year that Android is the base that everyone will go to. And because of that, the mobile device manufacturers, that Zebra, it's Datalogic, it's Intermec or Honeywell, I mean, they've all been very aggressively building new scanning platforms that are Android-based. So that is where the future is, and that's why we've obviously done this development. Just in terms of the architecture of HTML5, it also offers us a huge opportunity to develop in a very different way. So, and you'll see that as we demonstrate it. But a lot of the screens look very much the same. So unfortunately, those two screens on the side, they are not exactly the same screen. One of them is a cycle count screen on the old version, on the Windows version. And the one next to it is the Android version. It's actually a cycle count schedule screen, so it's a slightly different screen. But you can see principally they look very similar. And we've deliberately done that because we want a very easy move from one to the other. So we want to make sure that when we replace your scanners with Android scanners and you run the Android front ends, the user experience is very, very much the same. Okay, but what it does do in terms of the architecture is it allows us to add a lot more sort of fancy functionality into the front end, and allows us to do a lot of screen customization. Now, I want to talk around that one because this is an absolute game changer, right? In the Windows version, let's say you had a cycle count screen like that in the Windows version, and you wanted to add some sort of additional field into the screen, or you wanted to change some sort of logic in the screen. What you would have done in the past is you would have logged an EREF, enhancement reference with Datascope. We would have logged that. It would have gone into a development cycle. We would put a setting in that says you can turn this on or turn it off, okay? And it would then go into a development cycle. Our cycles are 6 weekly cycles. So the very quickest that you could possibly get that change was kind of 2 months later. That's the shortest lead time, okay? And that's just the nature of the way that Windows profile or front end was developed. The Android one is very, very different. The Android one, we've developed a development kit for it. So you can actually go into it. We're going to show you that. And we can actually add that logic on the fly directly into your screens to go and do extra things. So when Stephen shows these things, I think just bear in mind, think of different scenarios where you would want to take an existing screen and maybe scan some additional information, put some extra logic in there, and you can do that on the fly. Your DSP can do it for you. And give a completely different customized or tailorized solution in your warehouse, and you can do it within hours. So that's some of the background here. Stephen will go into the detail now.
Okay, so just a couple of slides from my side. Some of the things that we've done in the software, obviously, is Anton was saying the screens, the look and feel is the same. What he's meaning is the actual fields are the same, but the actual look and feel is totally different. Obviously, it's a web-based solution. So some of the some of the elements there is a modern look. And then the biggest item, which is I think also one of the game changers, is it's device agnostic. So in other words, it will run on a tablet, it'll run on an iPhone, it'll run on a CK65, one of the new devices, etc. So it's write once and we run it on all of those devices. Whereas currently, if you look at our code base from a technical perspective, we develop an application for the PC and we develop an application specifically for Windows Mobile. Now we've opened that up totally, it'll run on a browser. As long as it's HTML5 compatible browser, it'll run on any of those. And then, as Anton mentioned, the software can be, you can take existing screens and copy them and put in some logic that you need, or you can actually go and build screens from the ground up if you wanted to. And it's also not limited to the Datascope business objects. You can talk directly from these applications into the SysPro business objects. So what we're actually doing here is giving a kind of a tool or a toolkit that you can go and build these things or customize these things as you need. So let's hop straight into my first demo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you three examples here. The first one, so kind of relating this to the real world, is an example where we have stock coming in and we've got a put away screen. So we get pallets as indicated there on the left. Some of those pallets are QC passed and they typically go straight into our normal racks. But we do have some stock that's QC required or a QC sample is required and it needs to go into a sampling bin. They'll take a sample of the stock before it goes into the racks. So just to be clear, this has nothing to do with the QC system in SysPro going into inspection and out of inspection. This is purely a directional put away. So we're using a bit of logic to say, okay, this item, because it's inspection required, the flag in SysPro, then we want to drive the operator to put into the sample bin first. So it's driving a process. And the highlighted red blocks are what we're going to customize in the screen. So we'll start a bit simple. We're just going to give a change to the text at the top of the screen, change its name. We're going to put in a message, and we're also going to put in some logic around the destination bin. So if the item is QC required or QC sample required, it's going to force them to put it into a sample bin. So let's take a look at that in the software. Okay, so before I actually look at the sample, I just want to give you a quick rundown of the HTML5 interface. So on that previous slide I mentioned, sorry, I was supposed to go into the review of this, so let me quickly look at that. So we're going to have a look at the interface. This is the new HTML5 interface. You'll see it's very nice and clean. We're using, in this case, we're using a browser, HTML5 browser, and it's got the login screen there. We've simplified the login screen. If you know the scanner login, you've got to enter in you've got to put in your username, your password, your company, you've got to select your company password, you've got to put the printer in. There's a lot of fields you enter. So what we've done here is less is more. We've moved all operator defaults into a table, so we keep that separately, and all I have to do is enter in their username and password. And then we'll take them straight into the software. Now to show you this running on a mobile device, I've got two devices here, one being a tablet, and one is our CK65. So let's start with the CK65. Okay, let's start with the Samsung tablet. So this image here is a live feed from this device. Okay, so what I've done is I've logged in, and you'll see that the home screen consists of a number of tiles. And those tiles are all the different applications, and they're grouped in by the different modules. So we've got, for example, stock take, picking, loading. So on the existing scanner, they are essentially those little tabs at the bottom. Just get out of the way. And if we're going to have a look at one of those screens, for example, bin to bin.
Sorry, Stephen, to interrupt.
Yep.
But your video is still looking at the PC on the ground. Marius just needs to change the view.
Yep.
Thanks.
So this is a bin-to-bin screen where we can see the standard bin-to-bin. We have a look at see palletization. So you can see these screens are, and there's a pop-up, for example, coming up. So it's running obviously on this device, and the screen real estate is changing based on the device that you use. So as if you look at this on a browser, you'll see that the tiles are a lot bigger on the browser and things like that. And also the fields would change on the browser. So it adapts and changes based on your device that you're using. So you'll see this is on the PC. And if we have a look here, there's also a search function. We can search for any bin-to-bin applications, and it will filter that down and only show you the bin-to-bin applications. And you've got your menu along the top, which again is the same as the tiles. It's just broken down in the drop-down menu as such. And then along the bottom of the screen, we've got the standard information like the currently logged in operator, the logged in warehouse, the company, and then the version number. So this is the general look and feel of the HTML5 interface. And the guys are building this at a rate of knots at the moment. Let me just see if I can get the CK65 up and running here for you.
Stephen, just a point, I'm not sure if I missed it, but a lot of guys have asked us on the Windows application, on the scanner, to only give the applications that that particular user needs to see. Okay? In the Android, that is done. So on the Android version, if a guy only uses 5 of the scanner screens, he will only see 5 icons when he logs in.
Yes, that's correct. So our permission system that we've implemented is slightly different to the one in the past. So the permissions on those screens and your group permissions will drive what they see on their screen. So you're not going to have a cluttered screen with a lot of applications. Okay, so this is the application now running on the CK65, and this is the replacement unit that we recommend for the CK3. We'll touch on that a bit later, but the primary reason for that is it uses the same docking station and the same batteries. So if you're going to switch over, this device probably makes the most sense. You don't need to buy an entire kit. You only need to buy the actual device. You don't even need to buy the batteries. Okay. So if we have a look at bin-to-bin on this screen, you'll see the real estate. It squashes it up a little bit, but it still looks pretty good on those screens. Okay, so just to jump back here, just as a refresher, sorry. So this is our sample one, which I'm going to customize now. So we'll go into the HTML5 interface, and we're going to customize one of these screens. Okay, so part of the customization process, the first thing we need to do is we're going to copy the put away screen. So what I'll do is I'll open up the standard put away. Okay, so this is the put away screen as it stands. And if we compare this to the current scanner, you'll see it's identical. But there's a couple of buttons up here which are security controlled, but the first button allows us to copy a screen and give it a name. So I'm going to call this put away sampling. Okay, copy that. Once we've copied that, there's a menu at the bottom here called custom. And in a couple of seconds, we should see our screen appear there, which we do. So what we've done is we've replicated that screen. It's totally independent. We've still got the original screen. This is just a pure mirror of what we had before. But now what we can do is there's an additional button at the top right. I just want to turn something on here quickly so you guys can see where my mouse is. Okay, right. So there's a button at the top here which allows us to right-click and go into design mode. So now I can go and change the name. Okay, and we're going to also add what I said. We're going to add a little message box below the bin because we're going to tell the operator he needs to be careful. This needs to go to a sampling area. So what I'll do is I'm going to add a row at the top here. So we can slide that row down. Sorry, stay with me. Pop it down there, and then we're going to add a label in here. I'm going to put a message that I want to put on that label. Okay, so that's our label, and we save the screen. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to highlight that label to the user because I want to make it red and bold so they can see it. So what we can do here, for the technical guys listening and watching, we can actually go and change the markup, which is what the screen looks like. You can change the look of the screen. So that's the HTML markup. Just going to quickly scroll down and find my message here. Okay, and all I've done there is I've given a name and I've made it red and bold. So immediately we see that's applied. Okay, and then the final step to changing the screen is to put the logic in. And again, for the technical guys, there's something called JavaScript, and that's controlling the logic of the screen. So we've got the HTML markup, which is what it looks like, and the JavaScript is how it works, or the brains behind it. So I'm going to go and change that. Put some sample here. What I've done is I've pasted it in, but I'll just show you the changes I've made. I've commented them at the top. That's the first change. And what that change is doing, when the screen loads, hide that message. So that new message that we got, we want to hide it, because we only want to show that message once they've scanned the tracking ID. Then the second change that we've got here is the validation. So we're validating the bin, because if it's a QC required item or a sampling required item, we want to stop the user. So this is a message that will pop up. Okay, save the script, save the page, and I'm going to reload it from the menu. Okay, so immediately the screen loads, it looks like the standard QC screen, or the put away screen, sorry, except we got sampling at the top, so the name has changed. If I scan in a normal palette here, this palette has only got A100, which is non-inspectable. The screen behaves as it did before. If we now put in 46, which has got a not traceable and inspectable item, immediately we get our message pop up, so that's been customized. And also if we scan in a bin that's not the sample bin, it gives me a message that says, sorry, you can't do that, you need to put it in a sample bin. So we scan the sample bin, then it's happy. Okay, so that's a very simple example, but this can be done to any part of the screen or any function within that screen with very little code. If you looked at the amount of code I added there were 2 small blocks in the JavaScript, and there was 1 HTML markup change we made to get that message. Okay, so that's our first example. Okay, the next example, which we want to just take it a little bit further, and in this one again we're going to use the put away screen, but this time we're going to look at the mass of the screen. So already the put away screen, if you look at the bottom one, has got a total mass field on it. What we want to do is when we scan the tracking ID, we want to evaluate that field and say, if this item is greater than 800 kilograms, we want to move it into a specific zone. Okay? If it's not, we can go anywhere. So the screen currently, you put away, if you scan it, you can set up some rules that enforce the suggested zone. And when that happens, when you scan the bin that you want to put the stock into, it will check that the zones match. So we're gonna hinge off that logic, but what we're going to customize is we're going to set the zone ourselves in the screen. So we're going to set the zone, change the name, and put the label in. So let's do that quickly. See how that works. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my base again. So I'm going to go to the standard put away screen, which is here. I'm going to click on the copy button. I'm going to call this one record. Copy that. I'll give it a couple of seconds and we should see it in the bottom left. There it comes. Okay, standard screen. Again, we've now got our customization. I'll go through this one a bit quicker because you've seen some of this already. So I'll give it a different name. I'm going to add a column here, or a row. And this time I'll move the row down to our mass, because we want to show the message just under the mass field. Okay, we're going to add a label in here. We have more text. Okay, and again we're going to go into our markup. So we want to save that. And I'm going to copy my message. Just want to find my message here. There it is. And again, this is the same as the previous one. What we're doing is we're making it bold and we're turning it red. And then finally, we'll add our as I said, the brains. If we take a look at this, all I've done here again is we're hiding the message, and we're performing some logic on the zone field. Okay, save that. And if we reload that, okay, so in this case, we scan, I think, 101.4. This item is heavy, so 10,000 kilograms, so it's already suggested the zone H, and we've got our message. We go to 1016, I think it's 10 kilos. It's happy, it's not a problem, it's only 10 kilos, so it's fine. And obviously that zone H is what will be enforced when they scan the destination bin. It's going to force this zone H. Okay, so that's another example. And then the final one that I want to show is around some integration with additional information. So in this example, what we've got is we've got a SQL database that you guys want to write some additional information into when they do a truck load. So in the previous examples, we've just been manipulating the screen itself and how it reacts to the user. In this case, we're going to take some additional data and push it down into a SQL database. So on the truck loading screen, normally you would just scan your invoice and your destination bin and hit post. But now, in this case, say for example, the guy comes and says, no, I want the user to enter how many pallet type A's there are, how many pallet type B's there are, and C there are. Just to record that information for historical purposes. Currently, obviously, on the scanner, that would be an EREF, and Datascope probably wouldn't do that because that's very customized to this specific example. So in this case, we can hop over again. We can put that together quite quickly. Thank you. So what we do is we're going to truck loading, and we're going to copy the screen. That should appear down here. There we go. Okay, so step number one. Now, just to make it a bit quicker, I'm not going to add a whole bunch of rows here. I'm going to go straight into the HTML markup and paste in some of the HTML I have already, just to speed things up. Find my line here. So all I'm pasting in here is a couple of extra rows into the table, into the screen. So immediately you'll see this section here is new, and that's the small piece of HTML I just pasted in. Save that. And then what I'm going to do is pop in some JavaScript. And what this JavaScript is going to do is going to push the information through to the database. I'm going to find it for you. Here's my custom code. It's literally about 15 lines of code I've added to that screen. And all that's doing is fetching the information and pushing it through into a SQL database. Let's update that. Save this. It's going to reload the screen. Okay. Now in this case, I need to grab my custom table here, just to show you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you that that table has got no data in it at the moment. It's empty, so it's clean. And if we go into the truck load, and we put in here 1, 2, 50, 67, and we post that. Okay, we get a success on the normal the application itself, as well as an error message. I intentionally put that message there. What I wanted to show you was our notifications. So in the whole of the HTML5 interface, notifications will come up like that. So your successful messages will pop up and they'll disappear after 3 seconds. Error messages will remain on the screen, and then you have to manually go and go and close those. And you'll get those on any device that you're running. They'll happen. Let's go and see if our data has been passed through to our table. And there we go. In fact, our information pushed through to the table, and it's recorded that additional information straight from the screen. So as you can see, the integration that can be done with these different scenarios, I mean, it's kind of endless. We can put anything we really want to do there. These are just some simple examples, but with the JavaScript and the HTML markup, you can make it look how you want it to make it look, and you can make it function however you want it to function. You want to hand over to Anton for the final slide here on the HTML5?
Okay, so just a couple of points about HTML5. Firstly, the release date is at the end of this year. We are planning to run the software live in like a beta live, so it's going into a live environment during next month. But the official date is actually released in December, or actually early January. But there's a couple of points just to understand here. For the first one is that the software will run in dual mode, which is really, really nice. Most existing sites have a whole lot of Windows scanners. You don't want to go and change all your scanners immediately. So what you can basically do is you can continue to run your Windows environment and then buy additional scanners, which would be Android-based scanners, and you could do certain transactions on the Android version. So for instance, you could go and buy another 5 or 10 scanners and then go and put those into the receiving area, and all your receiving and put away, etc., is done on the new applications, okay, while everything else carries on as normal on the old one. So the idea then is you can sort of phase out your existing hardware and bring in new hardware. In terms of the Windows platform, our current Windows platform or Microsoft platform, Mobile 6.5, that will be still be supported until 2024. So don't panic here that you're going to suddenly have to buy all your new scanners. Over the next 4 years, we will still support that. Just in terms of development hours, we put in over 4,000 development hours into this new front end in the past year. So we've been hacking away pretty hard in the background. We're going to spend probably another 2,000 hours of development, and that is really just we've done all the main screens. We've got 60 different scanner screens, or 59 of them. We've done all the sort of typical normal ones that most clients would use, and now we're sort of going through some of the less used screens, converting them or creating them into the Android environment. The module is included in your current SLA. You're not buying this as additional. So by default, every one of our users already has access to inventory movement module, which covers all the scanning applications. It's immediately available with no extra cost. However, the design kit module, so in other words, if you want to tailor screens, that will be an additional module. You'll need to purchase that module. It will have to be added to your SLA, and then either you can use that module to tailor your screens, or you can ask a DSP to come in and work through the module to tailor your screen. So it's just important to understand, without any cost, we're doing a straight like-to-like move over. You can put in the new screens without any additional cost. If you want to customize them, which we believe most companies will want to do over time, that will be additional module. And then we want to just talk a little bit around hardware, some different options. Stephen's going to kind of show you the CK65, which we think is a great new replacement for the CK3 and tablets, etc., etc. So I'll leave it to Stephen to explain some of that.
Okay, yeah. So as I showed you earlier, this one I wasn't able to connect to it without it being in the docking station. So this is the CK65, which is essentially, as I said, the replacement for the current CK3. And the docking station that I've got here is one that I bought from Head in the office. It's an old CK3 docking station, fits perfectly. Batteries go in there. So this is a no-brainer. It's a straight off replacement for this CK3. Very nice device. The screen on here is quite a bit bigger, so they've increased the screen size on that and the resolution. I've also got there's a couple of CipherLab devices. This is an RS30. There's also an RS50. They're not as rugged, obviously, as the CK65, but again, running Android, and our software will run on that. I think there's a CN device here too. So all of these are 100% will run the software, provided they're running version 7 of Android or higher. And then obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the tablets, we've had some guys asking us, can they use tablets? You can use a tablet. Obviously, this is not very robust, so if it gets dropped, etc., it can break. But if you need to bump up your device count for a stock take, get a Bluetooth scanner, tether it to this. So we've used in the past these little Bluetooth scanners. So you tether this to the device, and you can hold the device and scan, do your stock counts. So sometimes you don't want to have that many scanners or buy extra scanners just for your stock count. Obviously, you can get these relatively cheaply getting a Samsung or some such device. So it opens it up quite a lot to a multitude of different devices. Back to you there, Anton.
Yeah, just move to the next slide, Stephen. So we just got one question here. Somebody has asked, like on that truck loading application, could you build in some sort of condition in that screen that then asks the user to take photographs of the trailer that the order is being loaded into, and actually write that off to a database? So Stephen, I don't know if you want to answer that.
Yeah, so 100% that can be done. As I said to you, the JavaScript integration, you can actually hook up if the device has got a camera on the back, so the normal cameras, you can integrate to that. Morris has actually already implemented that in our login screen. So normally on these devices, you've got an actual physical scan, so the barcode scanner, but should you have an imaging device at the back, if you open up the login screen, it interacts with the camera, and you can take a picture of your login tag, and it'll log in as if you scanned it with a barcode scanner. So the integration to the native functions of the device is capable straight from the JavaScript. Yes, most definitely can do that.
Cool. Any other questions, guys, on the HTML side?
There is one sitting on the question board. It's saying, having checked, there is no upgrading of existing CK3 to Android OS. Have you heard anything different or an emulation platform that will allow it to run on top of CE?
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. This is a hardware-based change. The actual physical hardware internals are different when you run on an Android device. So it's not simply a matter of kind of Androiding onto an existing Windows device. That isn't an option at the moment. You would need to have Android-based devices.
It is worth noting that the CK65 can run in either or. So you can get the CK65 in both those modes, and I believe it can boot into the different modes if you do a clean reset of the device. So you could have it on Windows Mobile, totally reset it, and go into Android.
Just a little bit more about hardware. I mean, we're talking about the CK65 quite a lot. That does not obviously stop us being able to use Zebra products or Motorola or other related products, DataLogic. We've just typically kind of suggested that the Intermex CK65 is the logical way to go for two reasons. The first reason is that by far the majority of our clients already run the CK3, and obviously it's a form factor agnostic, so you don't have to buy all the accessories and so on, which Stephen touched on. The other side of it is the CK65 is just it's a nice device, like the CK3 is. It's light, it's simple, it's modern, it works well. So that's the device that we're doing most of our testing on, and we're suggesting for new implementations and existing implementations. But just to be clear, it's not the only device. You can use other devices as well.
Got a question here as well.
Okay, if you customize your screen within the HTML5 it runs, so you've changed it, and the moment that you select it, put away again, it reverted to the old screen. So once you change it, can you lay it out so that it's cross-board for everybody, or is it permission based on it?
No, so the custom screens are, let me go straight into, let me hop over to the web page. So the custom screens at the moment, what happens is they get loaded into a custom menu at the bottom. So this menu here is a standard custom menu, but the idea, what we're going to do is, and this is before the year end, is those applications in the bottom left, you're going to be able to drag them straight out of here and literally onto your main window. So the guys will be able to pull those custom apps into a user-specific panel. So the panel at the top will be kind of the programs that you use. And then, yes, you would control these standard ones at the top here, where you would deny their access to there. And as Anton mentioned, they'll drop off the menu altogether. So they won't even see the put away. They'll only be able to have their custom put away at the top. So you could well name it put away and put it on the main menu and just hide the old one. And they actually don't even know they're using a custom screen. Yeah. Another one?
From my side, with upgrades, how do you manage these changes? Is it by saving to that custom folder file?
Yeah.
Like when we do the upgrades, you would just pull that into the new version?
Yeah, so the question is, how do we manage the custom screens with upgrades? So will the upgrade break those custom screens? Yeah, I think that's kind of the question. Basically what happens is we will, by standard, upgrade all of the standard screens. So they are totally isolated from the custom screens. So the custom screens will continue to work. Their logic will be there. The architecture of the whole thing is we've built it ground up. So we've designed it in such a way that as we move forward, those screens will still work with our business objects. So what you guys are not seeing here is a lot of the work in the background on these screens is we've been developing the business objects to be able to cater for these transactions. So even if you upgrade it, those business objects will still work, and because the business objects will work, the screens will continue to work. If there's a specific piece of logic that you're using and we need to change, and we change that, the upgrade you'll be notified that these specific custom apps will be affected. So you'll see there'll be a report that tells you should a piece of logic be required or a field that be required, it'll highlight it to you. So there'll be what you would call like an upgrade check sheet. So we would check it, but the majority of the stuff shouldn't be affected.
So I've just got one question.
Yes.
Obviously, very big drive for us is in HTML5. When we embarked on the project right at the beginning, this is why we've been waiting for HTML5. It's the GS1 capabilities,
yes.
Compatibility. How far are we with that?
Okay, so, well, I mean, we're already there because basically what I showed you earlier, if we took a bin-to-bin screen,
yes.
In your case, we would go and copy the screen. So we'd literally go in here, I'm going to call it GS1. Copy that, and then what we can do is, when it pops up here, you would add, in your case, you would add a row at the top. Sorry, that's not the right size. I'm going to add one with 2. Okay, it might not look 100%, but that can be tweaked. What we can do is add a label here and call it GS. Do that again. So we add a row in here. I don't want to waste too much time on it, but okay, now I can't type in it, I don't know why. But what we would do is add that. We'd add a text field, text box there, and what it would do is when you scan into this field here, we'd put the JavaScript logic that would populate the rest of the screen. So in this example, you want to save, I don't know what information is in the GS1, but what would happen is we would take this long string here, and then our JavaScript logic, extract it out based on the logic of the GS1 barcode, and populate the relevant fields down here. Okay. And that's all we do. I mean, it's very simple. So the design is that we can add that field in, you scan one barcode, and the whole screen gets populated straight from that barcode. And the logic of how we take that out would be customized in what I said earlier with JavaScript. So there's little blocks of JavaScript that we can put in there, and that's how you achieve that. And then one advantage of that, the advantage of that as well is this code snippet. For example, if you had it in the bin-to-bin application and you needed it in stock take, cycle count, etc., you take the same block and literally copy cycle count, paste it, copy this one, paste it there. So once it's working on the one, you just replicate it out to the other screens. So it would be relatively simple to do that. Another question?
Your error messages that appear on the screen, they appear in the same format as they currently do, or can you customize those error messages as well?
Look, you can piggyback on the error messages. So the question is, the error messages, are they customizable? So the functions that show up those error messages, so the Java, what's called the JavaScript functions, those are available to anyone writing in the custom application. So yes, you could customize using the same notification system, pop those messages up, and you can put whatever text you wanted in there. Any more questions?
So when you, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but would you get into, so we've got a couple of stock codes that is complex mix. Whenever you scan them, it's a box of 6 with 3 packs of 2. And what we find is we often get misfix on that or incorrect fix. So when you scan that stock code, get a special message up to say, by the way,
yes,
you're able to do that.
100%, yeah. So what you do is you do the validation on the picking screen. Once that field gets validated, you can give them a pop-up and says you need to, I don't know, whatever you want to do. Yeah. It's very flexible. I mean, you can literally do anything you want.
Yeah, I mean, you could actually just say, based on the stock code, the code looks at a reference table, the reference table pulls a standard comment and displays a comment. So, I mean, you could create your own separate reference table of if it's this stock code, here's a message that I want to pop up, and then put the code in that basically says, validate the stock code, check in the table. If it's in the table, display the message. I think just to touch on that, guys, that's the power of the stuff. It may not sink in straight away. It is immensely powerful, immensely. I mean, the amount of stuff we can now do with a DSP coming in and taking those screens and do things to those screens, or yourself with a developer doing them yourselves, is mind-blowing. It's so open. You can integrate with third-party applications. You can write data to an external database, or you can put in additional logic into the screens. And obviously, in any warehousing kind of environment, that's where the cookie crumbles, right? That's where the detail is. It's how do I create an experience on the floor that is very, very specific to me. It gives us the platform to do that.